Cordia, the Fulcher Road. You're all very welcome here today to Arbour Hill, the final resting place of the leaders of 1916, on this, the 110th anniversary of the 1916 Rising. We're going to start off proceedings with some music from Cahill.
I'll sing you a song of a row in the town. When the green flag went up and the crown rag came down, was the neatest and sweetest thing ever you saw. And they played the best game played in Éirígí. Well, one of our leaders was down at Ringsend for the honour of Ireland to hold and defend. He had no veteran soldiers but volunteers raw, playing sweet Mazur music for Éirígí. Now here's the gallant Pearse and his comrades who died: Tom Clark, McDonough, McDermott, McBride. And here's the James Connolly who gave one for all, and he faced the machine guns in Éirígí. One brave English captain was ranting that day, saying, "Give me an hour and I'll blow you away." But a big Mazur bullet got stuck in his jaw, and he died of lead poisoning in Éirígí. Old Kent and his comrades like lions at bay, from the South Dublin Union poured death and dismay. And what was their horror the Englishmen saw, all the dead British soldiers in Éirígí. Now here's the old Dublin and here's the renown. In the long generation her fame won't live down, and our children will tell how our forefathers saw the red blaze of freedom or Éirígí.
Roll of Honour of the executed leaders buried here in Arbour Hill. Patrick Pearse, executed May 3rd. Thomas Clark, executed May 3rd. Thomas McDonough, executed May 3rd. Edward Daly, executed May 4th. Michael O'Hanrahan, executed May 4th. William Pearse, executed May 4th. Joseph Mary Plunkett, executed May 4th. John McBride, executed May 5th. Eamon Cant, executed May 8th. Michael Mallon, executed May 8th. Sean Houston, executed May 8th. Con Colbert, executed May 8th. James Connolly, executed May 12th. Sean McDermott, executed May 12th.
So next we're going to have the wreath laying. So the first wreath will be laid by Éirígí. The second wreath will be laid on behalf of the 1916 Societies by Kevin. There's another wreath from Mishnock. I think it's a wreath from the Kevin Barry Society in Carlow. We're now going to have the lowering of the flags accompanied by a lament on the tin whistle by Cahill. Next we're going to have our guest speaker. It's Brendan McKenna from Portadown in County Armagh. Brendan doesn't really need an introduction. Anybody who remembers back to the Orange Parades on the Gavahi Road when Brendan stood up against the Orange fascism will know Brendan well. So delighted to have Brendan here in Dublin to speak for us today.
It's more an honour to say a fan shaw. Like a notch shaw. A notch and a well carha. Like Chunnery. A curry on boss. A knee jag, shay jag. It's an honour for me to be starting here today to give the oration at this spot, the spot where the leaders of the 1916 executed men were all buried. 110 years after Easter 1916, and 170 years after the formation of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, the key political, social and economic objects for which those revolutionary forces sought to achieve still remain unattained. We should never forget, and those in the Free State government and similar ones often ignore this fact, we should never forget that all 7 signatories of the 1916 proclamation, including James Connolly, were also members of the Military Council of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. For those gathered here today at this event, jointly organised by Éirígí and the 1916 societies, the objectives for which the 1916 leaders and their comrades sought to achieve still remain very relevant to the Ireland of today, as do those objectives of the ARB half a century before them. Let's remind ourselves what those aims were. A republic based on universal suffrage, which shall secure to all the intrinsic value of their labour. The soil of Ireland, at present in the possession of an oligarchy, belongs to us, the Irish people, and to us it shall return. Those objectives were very clear. A single, national and democratic republic for the whole island. Such a republic as envisaged by those leaders would also ensure that all persons and all workers would be entitled to receive the full value of their work efforts in order to provide a respectable, meaningful and sufficiently high standard of living for themselves and their families. The aims of the 1916 leaders were also quite clear: to secure the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and an all-Ireland republic. That republic would guarantee civil and religious liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities for all its citizens. That guarantee also included universal voting rights for women, a right which did not even exist under British rule or anywhere else in Europe at that time. Many Irish men and women in the years since 1867 and 1916 have sought to achieve those same objects. In the years since, there have been countless people who have spent their own lives striving to bring about real change, real, genuine and substantive change to people's lives across this island. Subsistence or minimum wages in return for maximum effort was never an objective for the Fenians or any other revolutionary Republicans from later generations. It should not be the objective of anyone in Ireland today, irrespective of their creed, class, colour or nationality. The Fenian movement also sought to address the restoration of Ireland's wealth and land to the real owners of the land. This was not just some theoretical or abstract aim. In the 19th century, the vast bulk of Ireland's wealth-producing land, along with political power, lay in the hands of some 10,000 landlords. During and Gortar Moore, when more than 1 million of our people died from starvation, hunger and disease, that same political and economic oligarchy ensured that their livestock, their farm produce and their crops continued to be exported from Ireland to Britain's economic markets, protected by British laws, British troops and British guns. The Fenian-inspired Land League campaign of the late 1800s, led by ARB member and former political prisoner Michael Davitt, brought about significant changes in land ownership by diminishing the control of that British landlord class across the island. However, in today's Ireland, land use and land values are again major issues in our country. The industrialisation of our towns and cities over the past century and a half contributed to the depopulation of many rural communities, a process that is still ongoing, and also to a corresponding concentration of population and infrastructure in many of our towns and major cities across the island. And in recent decades, the selling off of Ireland's natural resources, land, minerals, oil and gas, even wind energy, to various domestic and multinational companies has produced minimal benefit for the Irish people as a whole. At the same time, it has produced massive profits for those exploitative companies. Who can ever forget or forgive the giveaway of the Arbour oil and gas fields, a project which yielded very little by way of direct benefit to the people of Ireland, but which still produces billions of euros for Shell. More recently, in 2024, an eight-year-long case involving the global computer company Apple resulted in the Dublin government being forced against its will by the European Court to accept a €13 billion repayment for underpaid taxes. And while not on the same scale, but certainly equal in the levels of corruption, the financial scandals in relation to Stormont's renewable heat initiatives is estimated to have cost the public purse up to £500 million. Other schemes, such as the NA Events Company, Red Sky, the Aggregates Levy Credit Scheme, has also permitted needless squandering of millions of pounds of public money. Such corrupt practices are not unique and have been repeated across our island by other exploitative domestic and multinational companies with the connivance of inept and dishonest politicians in both jurisdictions. Closer even to my own home, the ongoing ecological disaster at Lough Neagh, this country's largest lake, is the result of private ownership and an absence of any official state oversight, coupled with years and decades of evident mismanagement. It has created serious health hazards for people and animals and has resulted in restrictions upon water-based employment and recreational activities, including the traditional community-based pollen and eel fisheries. Today, across the whole island, and particularly in the north, cuts to community and voluntary sector services, to education, health and hospitals continue, especially while a dysfunctional Stormont can't even agree a budget. Across all of our island, our natural wind and solar resources are being sold off at minimal costs and exploited to create maximum profits for global multinational companies with little direct benefit to the people of Ireland. In complete contrast, the ability to rent or own one's own home has become increasingly difficult for working people of all age groups and backgrounds across Ireland. Finding modern affordable housing capable of meeting their current or future needs, is a challenge faced by increasing numbers of people. Across both partition estates on this island, those figures equate, and this may surprise you, but across both states, well over 250,000 people are presently without a present secure home, or else they are living in substandard housing which totally fails to meet their needs. At the same time, across Ireland, there has been a very significant increase in the number of domestic residential properties being acquired by private landlords, property speculators and investors, including both Irish-based and global companies. That has led to major increases in the level of rental charges within the private rented sector, and indeed to bidding wars within the home ownership sector to such an extent that even young, working, newly married couples are finding it increasingly difficult to secure adequate housing sufficient to their needs. Just 2 months ago, Ireland's largest landlord, Éirígí, informed its investors that changes to tenancy rules by the Leinster House government would see a major increase in its rental incomes. That company operates at such a scale that it can influence rental markets in those areas where it owns most of the units, particularly here in Dublin. But that company is not unique. There are at least another 50 major private landlord companies in this state who will directly benefit from this latest betrayal of the Irish people by the Leinster House government, and that is only the tip of the iceberg. Meanwhile, levels of new construction within the publicly owned housing sector in both partition estates continually fail to meet the real genuine needs of many families and individuals. Almost 170 years ago in 1858, the Fenian Brotherhood was formed to stand against all such exploitation of our people and our natural resources. It's a part of our history that we should all do well to remember. That such selfish and greed-driven exploitation continues to exert a malign influence on our present is something which cannot and should not be ignored or condoned. The re-election in America of Donald Trump and his right-wing administration in the US does not augur well for many billions of people around the globe. Trump is doing his best to gut international human rights protections, and even undermines and endangers the very future of the United Nations organization itself. Trump's so-called Board of Peace for Gaza is nothing less than an attempt to completely destroy the goal of an independent Palestinian state through the imposition of a hand-picked authoritarian regime upon the people of Gaza and the occupied West Bank. None of those countries or individuals participating in Trump's Palestinian plan can be described as exemplars of human rights protection. We in Éirígí and in the 1916 societies share both the vision and the struggle of our Palestinian brothers and sisters for national sovereignty, independence and freedom. And we take this opportunity to send our solidarity and support to them. As a people, they have paid a heavy price in terms of deaths and injury for daring to envisage a free Palestine. Entire families wiped out, towns and villages completely flattened, but still, their belief in justice, freedom and the right of return still burns brightly. Trump's so-called Board of Peace was initially presented as a body that might mediate Israel's war on Palestine. However, the joint US-Israeli war on Iran and the invasion of Lebanon clearly indicates the proposed direction of travel of that so-called Board of Peace. It is one that places authoritarianism, greed and exploitation at its forefront. It is a vision which is far removed from the aspirations of the Fenian Brotherhood and the men and women of Easter Week. Over the past 2 decades, successive 26 county governments have attempted to erode Irish neutrality. The use of Shannon Airport by the US military to ferry weapons and troops to various conflict zones increases every year. For the last 24 years, almost 3 million US troops have passed through Shannon. There can be no doubt that some of those military fleets have also carried arms and military equipment to Israel to enable its genocidal attacks on the people of Gaza. In the 26 counties, the government is also strengthening its ties with NATO without seeking any mandate from the Irish people on that issue by way of a referendum. It flies in the face of popular opinion and historical and modern reality. The only country that has ever threatened Ireland, that has ever invaded Ireland, or has ever attacked Ireland, has been our nearest neighbour. That nearest neighbour has also been an active participant alongside the USA in many, many recent wars. In 1916, in the middle of a global war, Irish men, Irish women and Irish young people stood up for democracy, for national self-determination, and for justice and for equality, and for a better future for the many, not just for an elite few. They were brave, noble, selfless and courageous people with courageous ideals. They still remain so today. We in Éirígí and in the 1916 societies share that same vision and those same ideals. So too, let's always remember, so too do our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And in that respect, we extend our solidarity to all those around the world who are engaged in similar liberation struggles. And finally, comrades, before we leave this hallowed place today, where the executed leaders of 1916 rest, let us each recommit ourselves to pursue their visionary and far-sighted ideals and ambitions. To do otherwise, to just play lip service, would be a major act of betrayal on the part of everyone gathered here. Garamila Mayagov.
Good, Brendan. We're going to finish off. Cahill is going to do one more song for us, and he's going to do a round of in on the whistle. So I just want to thank everybody who showed up here today for the Éirígí 1916 Society's Easter commemoration here in Dublin in Arbour Hill. So go to Mila Mogwiv. So Cahill.
As down the glen one Easter morn, the city fair rode I. Their armoured lines of marching men in squadrons passed me by. No pipe did hum nor battle drum did sound its dread tattoo, but the Angelus bell or the levee swell rang out in the foggy view. Right proudly high over Dublin town hung they out the flag of war. For 'twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than at Suvlar Sonneberg. And from the plains of Royal Meath strong men came hurrying through, while Britannia's Huns with their long-range guns sailed in through the foggy dew. Was Britannia bid our wild geese go, that small nation might be free, but their lonely graves were by Suvla's waves or the shore of the great North Sea. Oh, had they died by Pierce's side, or they fought with Cahabrew, their names we would keep where our Fenians sleep beneath the shroud of the foggy dew. But the bravest fell and the requiem bell that came mournfully and clear. For those who died by the Easter tide or the springing of the year. Oh, the world that gazed with deep amaze at those fearless men but few, who bore the fight so that freedom's light might shine through the foggy dew. And back through the glen I rode again, and my heart with grief was sore. For I parted then with those valiant men that I never more shall see. And to and fro in my dreams I go, and I'll kneel and I'll pray for you. For slavery fled, oh glorious dead, oh when you fell in the foggy